Welcome to another deep dive. We're going to be taking a closer look at Yawboy Rick's self-published manual, Control Everything, Fear Nothing. It's certainly intense, to say the least. What are your thoughts on his approach to self-empowerment?
Well, Yowboy Rick's tone is a lot to take in at first, but
Mm,
there are some interesting concepts that he brings up that do connect to classic self-improvement. We'll see what we can unpack from his unique perspective.
yeah, for sure. The first thing that jumps out at me is his hardcore take on personal responsibility, this idea of radical self-reliance, as he calls it.
Right.
He's all about taking complete ownership of your life, no excuses, and definitely no blaming others.
It really is like taking that classic no excuses mentality that we've heard before and taking it to the extreme. But Yowboy Rick connects it directly to personal power. It's like he thinks that until you fully accept responsibility for where you're at, you're stuck. You're giving your power away.
That makes sense. And then there's that face the mirror exercise. Pretty intense. Standing in the mirror every day and declaring, I am the problem and I am the solution.
Whoa. Oh, yeah. I mean, it does make you stop and think about how much we actually play a role in creating our own reality.
It does. And it reminds me a lot of cognitive behavioral therapy, confronting your own reflection,
Ugh.
taking ownership.
Absolutely.
Okay, so then there's this whole concept of Christ consciousness. I know that might be a bit of a loaded phrase for some people, but
Right.
Yellow Boy Rick isn't really using it in like the traditional religious sense. He's describing something else.
Yeah, he's talking about recognizing your own potential, like
Mhm.
tapping into that inner power. And he thinks that this energy, this creativity, exists in everyone.
Hmm, interesting. I did think it was interesting that he calls it Christ consciousness, but he frames it as something for both kings and queens. It's like he's saying that this idea of reaching your full potential is gender neutral.
I think you're right. He seems to be aiming for a message of universal empowerment, even if his tone can get a little aggressive.
Yeah, a little bit, just a tad.
Mhm.
So we got this radical self-reliance and this Christ consciousness,
Hmm.
but then he goes a step further. He introduces this holographic view of reality.
Oh, yeah, this is where he really starts to get a little out there, challenging how we normally think about things.
Yeah.
He basically says that our thoughts, beliefs, and energy are actually shaping the world around us, kind of like the law of attraction, like attracts, like
Right,
the.
so it's not just about like positive thinking, but actively using your mind and energy to manifest what you want.
Exactly. It's more than just wishing and hoping. Yahboy Rick thinks it's about aligning your energy with what you want and actually demanding it from the universe.
Demanding it, wow. It makes you wonder, I mean, is there really any science behind this, or is
Yeah.
it more like a motivational tactic?
Well, there's a lot of debate around the science of manifestation, but I think what's really interesting here is how he connects all of this to energy. He talks about energy as this kind of currency that you have to manage and invest wisely.
He's got a whole section on cultivating high vibrations, cutting out negativity. It's like he thinks you need to clear out all the bad energy to make room for the good stuff.
Right. It's like making space.
Yeah,
He talks about meditation, positive self-talk, surrounding yourself with good people. It's all stuff we've heard before,
yeah.
but he delivers it in a very, shall we say, forceful way.
He definitely doesn't hold back, but I guess that's part of his appeal.
It
You
is.
know what else is interesting? He doesn't shy away from talking about money either. It's like he combines self-development with material success.
Yeah, it's not just about feeling good, it's about achieving results. He actually has specific rituals for attracting wealth, building status.
It's interesting. Some people might see it as being materialistic, but he seems to think that it's a natural outcome of aligning your energy with abundance.
Right, he believes that it's all connected.
Yeah, and he even has that money manifesto exercise
Oh, yeah.
where you define your financial goals and you actually visualize achieving them.
Getting really specific.
Yeah.
Not just wishing for wealth, actually defining what you want.
He's got a very specific vision, and he's not afraid to share his methods, even the more controversial ones.
That's what makes him so fascinating. He's willing to go places that a lot of self-help gurus kind of avoid, like the dark arts of manipulation.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
where things get a little uncomfortable. He's got a whole chapter on understanding how people think and how to influence them to your advantage.
He talks about controlling conversations, reading people, shaping perceptions, basically how to get what you want.
It's all very Machiavellian. It makes you think about the ethics of it all.
It does raise some questions about responsible use of knowledge, that's for sure.
Yeah, where do you draw the line between influence and manipulation?
Exactly.
But then in the next chapter, he talks about fear. And he doesn't say to avoid it. He actually encourages people to embrace it.
It's pretty counterintuitive.
Yeah.
He sees fear as something to be harnessed, not conquered. Like, he wants you to reframe fear as excitement, lean into the discomfort, and use it as fuel.
He even suggests making a list of your fears and then facing them one by one. Very practical approach.
It is.
Okay, so we've got radical self-reliance, Christ consciousness, the holographic view of reality, money, manipulation, and this interesting take on fear. And then he introduces this whole concept of sacred savagery.
Yeah, this is where he tries to combine those ideas of ruthless action and spiritual alignment.
Yeah.
He's basically saying that you need to be a warrior and a sage at the same time.
Decisive, uncompromising,
Right.
but still connected to your purpose.
Exactly.
It's a very fascinating but kind of contradictory concept.
It is.
Makes you think, can you really be ruthless and spiritually aligned at the same time?
That's a great question.
I don't know.
Something to ponder.
Yeah.
I think it really gets to the heart of Yaboi Rick's whole philosophy. He's
Yeah.
pushing people to embrace their full potential, both the light and the shadow.
The good and the bad.
Exactly.
He doesn't want you to settle for some watered-down, feel-good version of self-improvement.
No, he wants something more.
Something raw. Something real.
Absolutely.
He's definitely not for the faint of heart.
Definitely not.
But there's something about his honesty, his willingness to talk about these taboo topics.
Yeah.
Makes you want to keep listening.
It does. You want to hear what he's going to say next?
Yeah.
I think that's what sets him apart. You know, there are so many self-help gurus out there that are all about positivity and light, but he's not afraid to acknowledge the shadow side,
Right.
the primal urges, the desire for power.
Yeah,
It's a perspective that a lot of people just ignore or try to suppress.
that's true.
It's risky, but it seems to be working for him. He's sparking conversations, pushing people to think differently.
He's a disruptor.
He is.
Love him or hate him, you can't ignore him.
No, you can't.
And we're not even done yet.
Yeah.
We've got a lot more to unpack in this deep dive, like his views on metaphysics, universal laws, even self-hypnosis.
It's going to be interesting.
We've only just scratched the surface of Yaboi Rick's world.
Definitely buckle up.
It's got to get even more interesting.
Wow. You know, it's kind of wild how Yaboi Rick blends together this self-help stuff, biblical references, and even self-hypnosis. Definitely not your typical personal development guru.
You're not kidding. It's like he's created his own system, taking inspirations from all these different places, twisting it to fit his view. Speaking of inspiration, I got to say, his use of biblical references really stood out to me.
Yeah, it's not every day you see someone advocating for such a bold, aggressive approach to life.
Yeah.
And then quoting scripture to back it all up.
It's like he's using these passages to support everything. Self-reflection, manifestation, even manipulation. Almost like he's trying to give this whole control everything, fear nothing philosophy a theological foundation.
Huh. Makes you think about interpretation, right? Is he cherry-picking verses to fit his agenda, or is there something more to it?
Hard to say for sure. But one thing's for sure, he's using these references to make his claims seem more authoritative. Like he's saying, look, this isn't just me talking, this is ancient wisdom.
It's clever, that's for sure. Adds a whole other layer, especially for people who might be looking for that spiritual element in their personal growth.
Yeah, you start to think maybe he's onto something here. But then you have to remember, Yaboi Rick is also a businessman. He's got a whole brand built around this control everything, fear nothing idea. Books, courses, even music.
Oh, wow.
Makes you wonder if it's really about helping people or just profiting off their desire for self-improvement.
It's a valid question. It does come up a lot with these self-help gurus. I mean, it's natural to be skeptical when someone's selling you a philosophy and then selling you products related to that philosophy at the same time.
Yeah, is the message genuine or is it just a marketing ploy?
Right. It's tough to know for sure.
I guess it's up to each person to decide.
I think so. But what's interesting is how his marketing really reinforces his message. He's not just selling products, he's selling a lifestyle, a path to power. He's appealing to a certain type of person, someone who feels like they lack control, someone who's hungry for it.
Yeah, someone who's maybe willing to bend the rules a little to get what they want.
Exactly.
It's a seductive message, especially in a world where things feel so chaotic and uncertain. He's offering a solution, a way to take back control and shape your own reality.
And I think that's why so many people are drawn to his work. Even if they might find some of his methods a little controversial, he's not afraid to talk about those darker aspects of human nature, you know, the desire for power, the willingness to manipulate to get ahead.
It's definitely not your typical self-help message, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But there's something about his honesty, his willingness to challenge the status quo.
There is. It's refreshing in a way.
It keeps you engaged.
Yeah, I think that's what sets him apart from all the other self-help gurus out there preaching positivity and light. Ya boy Rick is bringing something different to the table. He's acknowledging the shadow side, the primal urges.
It's a side of ourselves that we often try to ignore,
We do.
but it's there,
It is.
and he's not afraid to talk about it.
He's not.
It's risky, but it's definitely working for him. He's making people think, he's getting people talking, he's a provocateur.
He is.
Love him or hate him, you can't ignore him.
You really can't.
He's forcing us to confront some uncomfortable truths about ourselves and the world.
And that can be a good thing, even if it's a little unsettling.
Yeah, it can definitely push you out of your comfort zone. So we've talked about self-reliance, spirituality, money, manipulation, fear. But there's another layer to Yaboy Rick's philosophy that we haven't really touched on yet. His ideas about metaphysics and universal laws.
Oh yeah, this is where he starts to sound a little more new agey, talking about things like the law of attraction, the law of vibration.
Right, he believes these laws govern reality, and that if we understand them, we can use them to shape our destiny.
It's a very proactive approach to spirituality. It's not about sitting back and waiting for things to happen. It's about taking action, aligning yourself with these universal forces.
He even says that you can bend reality to your will. If you really understand these laws and you apply them correctly, you can manifest anything you desire.
That's a pretty bold claim.
It is.
But it ties back to his whole thing about control. Remember, it's control everything, fear nothing.
Yeah.
And he seems to believe that these universal laws are the key to achieving that level of control.
He does. But he also acknowledges that it's not always easy. He talks about the need for discipline, focus, relentless effort.
Right, it's not a quick fix.
No, it's a lifestyle change.
It's a whole system, a way of life.
And it's not a one-time thing. It requires constant work.
Yeah, he's big on monitoring your thoughts, your emotions, your energy, making sure they're aligned with your goals.
Like a mental and spiritual boot camp.
Yeah, pretty intense.
And then there's the whole self-hypnosis thing. He actually provides specific techniques for reprogramming your subconscious mind.
Oh, interesting.
Rituals for setting intentions, reinforcing beliefs, even anchoring triggers to access a power mindset on demand.
Like a switch you can flip.
Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty fascinating how he combines these ancient practices with modern psychology.
Yeah, he's really created this hybrid system for personal transformation. It's comprehensive, that's for sure. But it also raises some questions, like, is it really possible to control everything in your life?
Yeah.
And even if it is that healthy? Is it even ethical?
Those are big questions.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I think it comes down to personal choice. How much control do you want? What are you willing to do to get it? Yaboy Rick offers a path, but it's up to each person to decide if they want to walk it.
That's a really good point. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution. It's a philosophy, a set of tools.
Yeah.
And like any tool, it can be used for bad.
Exactly. It all depends on the intention.
The intention of the user.
Right.
And I think that's what makes Yaboy Rick such a fascinating and complex figure.
He is. There's no doubt about that.
He's a master manipulator, but he's also a brilliant strategist. He's ruthless. But he also seems to genuinely believe in his message of self-empowerment.
He's full of contradictions.
He is.
But that's what makes his work so interesting.
Yeah, he makes you think.
He does.
It challenges you to confront your own desires, your fears, your beliefs about what's possible.
He's like holding up a mirror to society, showing us our obsession with power and control.
And whether we like it or not, he's making us ask some tough questions about ourselves and the world we live in.
He is.
It's thought-provoking, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
So as we move into the final part of our deep dive into Yaboy Rick's world, what are some of your key takeaways? What can people learn from his control everything, fear nothing philosophy, even if they don't agree with everything he says?
I think one of the biggest takeaways is his focus on personal responsibility. Like, he really wants you to own your life, become this conscious creator of your reality. His methods can be a little out there, but you can't deny his belief in what people can achieve.
It's inspiring in a way. Yaboy Rick might not be for everyone, but he's definitely left his mark. He's a disruptor. He's a provocateur. He makes you think.
He does. There's no question about that.
And that might be his greatest strength.
Right.
His ability to spark these conversations, to challenge what we think we know about ourselves and the world.
Absolutely. He pushes us outside our comfort zones, makes us question everything.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us as we explored the world of Yaboy Rick and his control everything, fear nothing philosophy. It's been quite a ride. Hopefully you found it insightful, maybe even a little bit empowering. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what you think is possible.